president, I asked people to look at certain sections, propose clarifications if needed, update anything that was needed, and then have one overall editor. Because sometimes people in programs might say one thing, but then fund says something else and they conflict. So you want to have one editor that goes through and make sure there's no conflicts. Um, and when you look at your bylaws, who are your key officers? And really, the only three that you need are your president, or sometimes it's called an administrator. I think it's in the BOR, it's the administrator, which makes no sense, but that's what it is. Your secretary and your treasurer. So only those three people. You want to look at your annual meeting. What is the designated month for your annual meeting? And kind of back to elections. What's the timing? How many months or days prior to the election do you announce your slate to the membership? And is this lined up so that the officers will take place on July 1, again, consistent with the BOR? And then looking at your policies and procedures. Again, kind of back to, is this the way your branch is running, or do you need to update them? Is your branch functioning within your policies and procedures? In other words, does your practice reflect the bylaws and the policies and procedures? And what things need to be adjusted? So like we mentioned earlier, you don't need to have like a programs person or a tech track person, for example. But they're needed for functional branch and to keep people engaged. So I'll give you an example. A few years ago, we didn't have a programs chair because nobody wanted to do it. But the past presidents group took over and they each helped plan a program for all the months.
Vicky, you went away.
Are you still on, Becky?
We recently looked at our bylaws and our policies
Okay.
and procedures, and we didn't have to have as many meetings as we were having. We could restructure our meetings, not to have as many, again, to keep people engaged. Sometimes they don't want to go every month, but we have some socials and different things figured into our branch calendar. Um, and then also, what does the transition of officers look like? Do you have a transition meeting? Do you know who's going to do which functions? Again, if you don't have all your officers. So a good thing to do is just get a list of things to do or draft a calendar that tells the president or your leadership what needs to be done every month. So hopefully that kind of gives you some ideas. And some different things that might be done. And I think, Sigrid, I think we're going to go through everything and let people ask questions at the end, just so we make sure we get through everybody.
Yeah, let's do that and put your questions in the chat. And we'll get to them as quickly as we can. But there was one, when you update your bylaws, what is the best way to ensure that you align with national and state updates? If you go to the state doesn't dictate your bylaws, but national does. And if you go into the national site, they'll tell you the things that need to be involved in your bylaws. And it's usually sections 1 through 7. Is that right, Donna? Yeah. Okay. The first 7 sections are mandatory. And then after that, you put in what is required for your branch.
I'd like to just comment that, I'm talking to branches that are floundering and they have bylaws that require way too many officers to be elected. Some branches have in their bylaws that they have to have a meeting every month with a speaker. I mean, make your bylaws as flexible as possible so that you don't run afoul of them.
And it's also a guideline. And it helps you if you're trying to convince the rest of your board, we don't need 18 officers. Dial it back to what is reasonable and you can expect from your branch so that you survive. Okay. Becky, you want to talk a little bit about the difference between policies and procedures and bylaws? Those are two different things.
Well, your bylaws are basically what you have to do, and your policies and procedures are really more of your functional. how your branch operates. So, they are slightly different. I'm going to put in the chat the link to the bylaws at National, the bylaws toolkit, so you can see that as well.
Right. Okay. Is Carol with us? Carol, are you here?
I didn't see her.
We'll come back to her later. Job sharing. Sharon, you want to say a
Sure.
couple of minutes
So,
about that?
you know, the national requires that you have a president and or administrator, somebody that can get the documents that they send you. And we at the state require that you have somebody who will get the documents for your branch that we send you. With regard to making things flexible, some branches, people don't want to step up because it's too much effort to be the quote president. I talked to a branch leader the other day and they said, we have 3 people that are interested in sharing the job. And I said, wonderful. Figure out how you're going to divide it up and make sure that when you put your information into both the national and the state branch officer reports, because those are separate and they don't talk to one another, that you put all those 3 people in so that there is somebody definitely who's going to get what is sent out from both national and state. And, if you have 2 people who share the job, that's why Sigrid and I are running, why we are co-presidents elect, because we have decided, thank you, Faye, we decided that we would need to, with everything that we have in our minds to do, we'd need to be able to bounce it off one another. And then, of course, if somebody gets sick or wants to take a vacation, remember, we're all volunteers. We don't give you a bonus if you do all the job.
Yeah.
So
My
job
husband said, is this
sharing,
job going to pay more than the last job? No, I don't think so.
yeah. The other thing, a lot of people are concerned because the treasurer, the CFO, is a really big job. You can have a treasurer for membership and you can have a treasurer for your branch. They would have to work together to make sure that everything is done correctly. But if you need to break up the job into smaller bits so that you get somebody to be willing to take it over, that's fine. Be flexible. Remember, no bonuses.
Thanks, Sharon. Right. Staggering elections. Patricia, you want to talk a little bit about that? You must be on mute.
I'm not sure about how staggered elections can work. I think you'd have to look at your own bylaws. But I did want to talk a little bit about job sharing. In our branch, we have at least 2 people as president, and one person starts this job, and then the next year another person. And so after 1 year, they stagger. So we always have a new person joining an existing person who knows the job. So everybody does it for 2 years, but the first person, I'm not explaining this very well, they start and then there's 2 of them, and then one ages out, and then we get a new person that assists them. And we do that with many, like with membership and Tech Trek, and we always have teams, and we have people that have been doing the job and then new people join them, and then that person may leave and the person that joined them will be the lead that next year. So that seems to work really well, is having more than one person, having teams, and then having new people coming in every year. And that keeps it fresh, I think, and it really seems to be easy for people to say yes, because okay, I'm just joining someone who's already done this job. And what else were we?
That's a really good explanation of staggered elections, because you can stagger and say, okay, in year one, we're going to do the president and the treasurer and the programs. In year two, we'll do the secretary and membership and whatever. That's one way. But with job sharing, if you each of those people serves a 2-year term, and 1 year they're the new person, and the second year they're the lead person, you'll always have someone who knows everything about the job, and you'll be able to encourage new people to not be so terrified that they're going to be all alone trying to put together programs for your branch. So that was actually
Yes.
a pretty good explanation of staggered elections.
Thank you, Sigrid. And it does just seem so much more fun to be part of our team. Our Tech Trek team, I think we started with 3 and I think they're up to 6 now because they're having so much fun. They all love doing it and interacting with the girls and the teachers. So, we're mission based, of course, but we want to have fun. And I think that's something we have to keep in mind. And if you work with a team and it's fun and you can bounce ideas off each other, and it doesn't seem so onerous. If there's 5 people working on the programs or on membership or on, our new member group keeps getting bigger and bigger too, because it's fun. So I think keeping fun in your mind too, as you're planning your year and planning your activities, that fellowship is what Sigrid was talking about. And I think that's a really key, really key part of what we're doing here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we want this to be something that touches you, that you want to do, that you want to be a part of, and pass that along to other members of the leadership team. Okay, and then 2-year terms. Patricia, do you have people in your branch that have 2-year terms instead of 1-year terms?
Yes, I think many people, when they take on the responsibility, they do agree to do it for 2 years, because the first year you're kind of learning. And also because we have that situation where you're joining up for 2 years because the person that you're helping has been there already for a year. Now, they're doing their 2 years, but they're staggered. And then you do your 2 years. And I think it's very common in our branch that most everyone does too. In fact, we have a few who've done public policy for about 10 years, and we're trying to get them,
Well,
move them on so we can have some new people in public policy, but they can at least join the team. And
and that you bring up a good point, that most branches have somebody in some role that won't give up their job. And you really need to have new blood moving through the veins here. And if you have co's, then you'll always have a second person. And if you have this staggered elections and 2-year terms, and you write your bylaws and policies and procedures correctly, you can kind of write those people off into emeritus status. Um, it's one strategy for making sure that more new people become involved in jobs and have input into your branch. Carol Holzgraf has just joined us. Patricia, did you have anything more to
no,
add
I
to
think
that?
we'll see how it goes here, Sigrid. We'll see what else we want to add.
Okay.
Before Patricia leaves, there's a question in the chat about how do you handle voting for the co-positions?
There is no question. In AAUW, it is 1 woman, 1 vote, or 1 member, 1 vote. Everybody has
You
a
run
vote.
as a slate. So for COPE, like when Sharon and I ran for president, we ran as a combined slate. The vote is either you accept Sigrid and Sharon as co-presidents or someone else.
Well,
You don't
but,
have.
but that isn't their question. When you have a board meeting.
Yeah. Oh, let's go back to your your policies and procedures and your bylaws and decide, do you want to allocate one vote to a position?
No, Sigrid, you can't do that. National says every member has a vote. If you're co-presidents, if you're co-secretaries, everybody has a vote.
So
Okay.
so I guess what they're asking, because it came up while Patricia was talking,
Hmm.
is um, how do you do the voting at your board meetings, for example, if you have something that needs to pass?
No,
We do
Well,
it, as
Go ahead.
Sharon mentioned, one person, one vote. And
Mhm.
if there's 3 presidents and 2 secretaries or whatever, everybody votes. And,
Mhm.
we really strive for consensus, obviously, because that's
Mhm.
just how we run. And, I can't think that there's ever been an issue, where the voting was that contentious.
Does
But we do just,
I know that when we had that question come up in our branch, and I guess maybe we have to have it straight in the bylaws, because it was, does everybody have to come to the board meeting? Because one of the
Yeah.
things with having co's was that you were represented at the board meeting. Not everybody had to be there, so you didn't have a mammoth board meeting.
right.
Well, and also the issue of quorum. If you've got
If-
6 offices and 12 officers, what's a quorum? So we need to be careful about that.
Yeah, and I think that's what this person was asking.
Okay, got
Um,
it. Okay. And there's some other question, handling the votes and then the financial position of Zell and Zephy. I don't know Zephy, but Zell works. A lot of branches use that because there's no
Zeffy the
fees.
new for nonprofits, and the
Oh, okay.
person who brought it up is Tina.
Yes, I like
Like
to
to
say,
address it?
yeah, I'd like to say something about it. Our branch is trying to make this financial position easier. And one of the
Mhm.
new tools out there is Zephy. It's a payment system for nonprofits. And so we run all our fundraising, we run all our luncheon checks, we run anything through this. So we just put a link out in our evites. They click on there, they pay for it, and it has made the treasurer position so much easier.
Is there a charge for that, like there is for PayPal?
You can, on the drop-down menu, say, I don't want to pay, and you pay nothing.
Thank
Okay.
you.
And is this something they have to have like Zelle, you have to set that up in your own bank account in order
You-
to pay somebody else? Do they have to do that or is this totally transparent?
Our branch set it up to use with our bank, but then nobody else needs to do anything else. You just click on and pay.
Okay. And they enter a credit card number or a bank or whatever.
Right. And there was a lot of hesitation, but on our December luncheon, 95% of our members used it.
Excellent.
And there
And it
was
made,
no
I mean, if
charge.
you've done this before, you've gone under non-sufficient checks, you've had to, collect the checks, deposit the checks.
Lost the checks,
Right.
lost in the mail
This
checks.
takes care of all that. And my
Okay.
treasurer's having some branches contact her about this, and she's willing to ask, to work with them how we set it up, and we have found no issues whatsoever.
Excellent. Well, that's a good thing to know. Thank you very much for that
Sure.
piece of input. Okay. Let's
Carol.
see. Carol. Miss Holzgraf,
Yeah.
how are you? We wanted you to talk a little bit about job descriptions and how that's helpful in recruiting people, particularly estimating the amount of time. You're muted, Carol.
Muted.
I just clicked the wrong thing. When we need them, we need job descriptions because people coming into a new job, we've all done that. We've all done our first job with, we don't know what's going on. You need to know what to expect and when. And it's, it's so important. So it's really the the person to write this is the one who has done it in the past. And so I think every branch just needs to sit down and spend a few minutes and write a job description for each of the jobs that they have done, and then you collect them. And we used to do these in the experience notebook. Now we do them online, but they have to be available to people. I mean, I swear it will make it easier for people to say yes.
And also an estimate of how many hours it takes a week or a month or whatever that you want to give them something realistic so that they don't go, oh my God, my whole month is ruined because I'm going to be doing this.
Right. It needs to be realistic. I mean, if it takes 15 hours a month, then you truly need to say that.
Okay. And another reason for job sharing is if the jobs are more like 20 or 30 hours a month, you definitely want to have two people to split that up. Okay. Donna, you want to talk about the 5-star program and how that can help you structure your board and focus on what jobs are really important to fulfill?
So, when you look at it, one of the jobs that really impacts it is communications. Are you maintaining your Facebook, Instagram, the social media aspect? Do you have someone that does that? Do you have someone that coordinates? Sends, for example, do you have a branch photographer who takes a picture when we're doing an event and then sends it to the newsletter editor so they can insert it in the newsletter or insert it in the Facebook or insert it in an Instagram, so that it stays fresh? And a few people working together is a lot easier than one person having to do the whole thing. And that's another place where you can divide up stuff into little bitties. Like, can you just write a newsletter article? Can you write whatever? Another area in 5-star is, let's go back to the program issue. Programs is a huge job that's often hard to fill. The 5-star program says 4 a year. It doesn't say 12. It doesn't say 9. It doesn't say 11. It says 4. 4 mission-based meetings a year. And it doesn't say they have to be in person. It can be a watch party on Zoom for the annual event. That counts. So, you don't have to kill yourself. A lot of us have IBCs that do an event every year featuring a fund, the different funds and scholarships and all of that area. And the one for my area puts on an event every January. It's on the same day, same place. All the branches are invited. So that's something that your program chair doesn't have to worry about. It's handled. Is it one of the 4 meetings? Sure, because that's what your branch did. So if you do the annual event and you go to your IBC, that means your branch only has to produce 2 meetings to meet the 4 meeting requirement. So when you start lining things up and looking what they need and what you can do, it suddenly becomes a lot less onerous. Does anybody have a question? All right, I don't know if I'm supposed to ask at this point.
That's all right. We want everybody to have their say here. Okay. The other piece of this is familiarity with the hub and BOR, because once you elect these people, it's important that you get them into the AUW national and state systems in a timely fashion so that everybody has access to the information that they need to do their jobs.
Yes. Now the hub, which is the national platform, can be updated by a number of different people. It can be updated by the president, by membership, and by finance, for sure. And if you need help, I'm the person you contact. And it can be updated 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It's always available for updating. You can't backdate. So it starts when you go in. But what you can do is if you're changing presidents, we'll just take one job. You're changing a president position June 30th. You have a new person coming in, the old person's going out. You can, when that person's elected, you can have them start, once you know that they're going to be there, you can have them start June 25th in the hub. You can have the old person stay in till July 15th or July 30th so that they can help the new president if there's a hub issue that they have a question about. That allows overlapping. It doesn't mind. And also, if you don't have co-presidents, there is information from the state and from national that only goes to the president, period, full stop. And that's president/administrator. So if you have a co-president, that means two people who are getting it. So if one person's doing, summer in Tuscany, then it's okay because there's somebody else there to get it. But if you don't have a or, if you don't have two people, I recommend you make the secretary also a president in the hub, because that will allow you to have two people in case that one person is not available for whatever reason. I mean, maybe the computer died. But if you have two people, you can make sure this national will only accept one survey back. And that's why they won't send it out to everybody. But it doesn't mean you can't list two positions so that you know that everybody's getting the information. The
Right.
BOR can only be updated by the branches from June 1st to June 30th. And
that's the state version.
That's the state version. And the code to do that is sent by the office manager to the presidents listed in the BOR, not in the hub, in the BOR. So again, if you don't have co-presidents, if your president's not available, you need to contact the office at AAUW -ca.org and tell them who needs the BOR access.
BOR is the branch officer report. That's the
Right.
acronym.
That's what it stands for. And if you have a change, so I'm not doing this, nobody die. But say I said, I'm done, I quit on November 1st. I'm taking off. So now they get someone to replace me because I do membership finance. So I'm in as membership and I'm in as finance in my branch. And they get somebody to do it. You need to contact the office at aauw-ca.org and request Julica to make that update. Your branch cannot update the state records any other month except June. So
Okay.
there
Good.
you go.
So if you have any other questions, what does the acronym HUB stand for? Donna, do you have any idea?
I have no idea. I think it's supposed to represent the hub of a wheel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is about the new software that AUW National purchased a year or two ago, and so the acronyms come from that software. They don't always mean something.
Yeah, it's from Salesforce, for those of you
Right.
who
So
know
if you've
software.
ever been involved with Salesforce software, it's
So
interesting.
that's where it is.
Okay, thanks, Donna.
Mhm.
Okay, other places to look for new members who can become officers is in your CU partnerships or your scholarship schools. So Susan, talk a little bit about that, please.
Okay, well, I was going to talk about getting your local college or university to be a partner. If you are giving out scholarships and you don't have a partnership with that school, I recommend you talk to your contact at that school to try and work out a plan to reach the person in charge that you might want to meet with. Um, After the last peer meeting, an email was sent with a link to a revised version of what the national AUW put out. They use the initials WII, but I changed it a little bit so that you can personalize it and add the information to kind of sell your program to the college. Once you have an inroad into the college, then what Sigrid is talking about is trying to share the information with faculty and staff that there's an AAUW. One form that was also sent out after the last peer meeting was just information for students. But the message behind that is that if a flyer is hanging up and it's a message for students talking about the financial awareness workshops on National AAUW, it informs the faculty and staff that there is an AAUW. And I wonder what that is. And then, you kind of trickling down the information and hopefully getting people to ask a question and become interested and inspired. It does help if you have any members in your branch who are faculty or staff at local colleges and universities to help them spread the word and hopefully recruit more members and possibly student members as well. We have a local college, the one that I worked at, and I'm on their foundation, and they did not renew. And so I sent that information sheet to our college president and said that, look at all we do. It only costs $250 a year to renew, and yet we're giving out thousands in scholarships and sending students to Nick Whistle. He actually called me up and couldn't believe it was only $250. He did say that the district doesn't allow the college to pay membership fees, but because the member to staff or faculty get automatic national membership, it was okay. So the $250, covered that, plus potential free membership for any student who happens to go to national and register. So it's a good deal. Use what you do for the colleges to your advantage to say, look, it is a good deal. Maybe you want to join. And once they join, then if you have faculty and staff who can share information about AAUW, you might be able to recruit some new members. Just a reminder, in case you weren't at the last session, that Nick Whistle through NASPA is up and running. The last day to register, I think, is register your students. I think it's May 8th. May 4th. It's May 4th. They are including a DC tour. I want to put on the next board to board, Sigrid, that to remind people to send the names of the students that they send to Nick Whistle and their email addresses, because in April, I want to have a Zoom session for the students and any of you who would like to join me to help cover topics on what to expect when traveling and how to plan for the conference to make sure our students get there safely and prepared with no incidents of missing a plane or not finding the right gate. Make sure they know how to travel successfully. So I'll put my state email address in the chat. It's just CU, Traditional College University, and then the ending of the email address, aauw-ca.org. I'll put it in the chat. Are there any questions, or does anybody have more to contribute to this topic?
I know it's probably not possible for all branches, but some of the things that, with the way things are going in our current environment, one of our colleges did not renew. And we had enough money. We went to the college and said, we'll pay.
Wow.
And so we paid. Now, the advantage to that is that one of the problems is that National always sends the bill to whoever had it the previous year. And people move around in the colleges. And so sometimes that person isn't available and they have trouble getting the payment the second year, which you guys can maneuver with your own contacts. But we paid, and now we have even more professors that have joined the branch.
Wonderful.
Yes, so
Great.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Donna. Okay, how many of you in your branches are looking at marketing? Like, how do we figure out who we are, what the community sees about us? How important have you made that in your branches as a membership attraction and also branch visibility, AUW visibility in the community? Does anybody have good stories they'd like to share with us?
I feel like I can talk to that. Sorry, I didn't know if you just wanted to jump in.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Okay, so
view
this is Chrissy.
speaker. Chrissy Bercier. Hi.
Hi, yeah, from Morgan Hill.
Right.
And that's a big concern to us. And I feel like that's kind of been one reason that we've been good at continuing to have strong membership. We're a town of about 45,000, and our branch has over 200 members. But we really focus on keeping our visibility. We have our big red tent. We participate in community events. We work with the other nonprofits in town. We make a point of doing that. We belong to the Chamber of Commerce. And we're currently working on getting somebody at the top of our communications and marketing, but we do try to, always unify our message that we send out. And we're very particular about what we are saying out to the community. So that is something that we think about and that we apply.
Thank you. Does anybody else have other things they'd like to share with the group about their marketing efforts and what they're looking into and what's important to their branch? And you can use your little raise your hand thing too.
So Carol has her hand raised.
Carol.
You're on mute.
Carol, earbuds.
Carol, unmute.
Mute. Oh God, I did it backwards again. Okay, I'm speaking of one of my 4 branches, the Chico branch.
Which
Yeah,
one is this?
I know it's a great way to make friends. I'm speaking of the Chico branch.
Okay.
Which is a town of, say, 112 whatever thousand. We have slightly more than 100 members. We engage with the community through the newspaper generally, by advertising our more fabulous programs. We have a Tech Trek fundraiser, which is an antique appraisal fair, which is even more widely broadcast to everybody. We're going to the farmers market next week. And what really works for us, and the rest of you may take notice, we have a new T-TAG group. This is the Tech Trek alumni group. Our groups, because we have this truly fabulous person running this, we have like 20 of our former Tech Trekkers, including those still in college, who are working to do, to not only do things for themselves, but they do things for the community. And that is an outreach. It really works for us. It really does. So, if you, whatever you have, if you have your former Tech Trekkers, work for it. If you live in a small enough community, I'm not speaking of LA, that you have a relationship with your newspaper, work with them, because they are, particularly if you write the article and send it to them, they are more likely to publish it rather than if you just send them the information and they have to do it. So
They're not going to write
it has
anything.
worked for us.
Great. Anyone else have thing they'd like to share with the branch, with all the rest of us, that your branch is doing?
I'd like to say that, my branch covers all of a county. So we have, I don't know, members in 10 towns, and it's very challenging. Plus, some of the local papers require a payment if we want to promote anything. So,
Oh, really?
yeah. Oh, yes, absolutely. My local paper requires a $25 fee whenever you want to put something in their calendar. So it's challenging to figure out what to do and how to do it best. And if anybody else has a county-wide branch, I'd love to hear what you are able to do. Sometimes we can get it in a calendar of one of the free newspapers, but not always.
Okay.
Yeah, our newspaper went bankrupt, so.
Yeah, print media is kind of having a hard time these days.
Yep.
That's true. Okay.
Can I add
Um,
a little bit, Donna Lilly?
Hi.
Hi. Member of Delmar Leucadia branch, and we are doing something new this year for raising, we hope, 10,000 for Tech Trek. We are joining Rotary, local Rotary,
Oh,
and we're combining two branches, Delmar Leucadia and Carlsbad Oceanside Vista.
okay.
Delmar has probably almost 200, and
Yikes.
COV is just kind of melting. And we don't want them to melt. So we have lots of ideas. I don't know where it's going, but we are really getting a lot of people to help promote this fundraiser.
Right. Thank you, Donna.
Mm-hmm.
Susan.
Yeah. Back when Carol's talking about putting things in the newspaper, even if you're not putting it in the LA Times or a big newspaper, there's a lot of community newsletters out there. And that's where we tend to put our articles in the community newsletters, and it seems to reach quite a few people. So just sharing that idea.
Yeah. Sina.
Hi, everyone. So I'm following up with Donna's comments here because we're just beginning a process of investigating. In fact, we have a meeting next week with some of the president and some of the other officers. But the issue, when I'm listening, the issue is that we are very broad. We're, all of North County or North Coast San Diego. So the combination seems to work, but it is a very wide, diverse kind of joining together. And we've had, obviously, the problems getting new people on board. And we do now have, I'm on the president, but I was on the nominating committee. I've been president for over 4 years, and I think it's about time that, that somebody new comes along, especially since I don't even live in Carlsbad Oceanside Vista anymore. But so we're trying to pull it together. Yes, there are very few, the communication is very difficult. The free newspapers, you don't get any coverage really out there. I'm guessing that we have to look at a more social media kind of coverage. Our branch, COV, does a monthly newsletter. We have a monthly branch meeting, and maybe that's part of the problem, that we have overextended ourselves. We have programs every single month, except the summer. And, so now we're having one of the passport presidents is taking the position again. And we are now investigating joining together, which we probably are going to want some advice from state. I know we did get all the procedures. We got all the paperwork. We know what the paperwork is involved with. And of course, this will be a longer process. This is going to be a process that will probably take us a year to see through it. Again, it's at the beginning. But, I really am interested. I really am interested in the ideas that were presented tonight, as far as not being so committed to having something every month and not having, pulling our hair out when only 30 people show up, when we spent so much effort to put it together. But I do want to brag a little bit. We're having, for Women's International, we're going to have a script that I wrote. It's on the California suffragist and
nice.
our success in the before the national, obviously, vote was given, 1911, that we had our success, but using characters, or I should say people that contributed with the knowledge. And so we're putting that on for Del Mar Leucadia. It's our joint meeting. We're going to have a luncheon. It's going to raise funds for actually both scholarship and Tech Trek. But we're finding, I think, we were trying to do too much. Is that possible? I mean, and so it became overwhelming for people to want to take on, new people to take on the role. We do have some new people taking on some of the lesser positions, if you will, but could that be it? That it's so much.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Exactly. Do deeper, not as frequent, and you may be attracting a different crowd because you're doing something that has more depth to it.
Yeah, and we do bring in a lot of outside professionals. We have very creative type of, I'm really proud of our programs that have been run these years. But again, I think COVID did a major hit on us, like probably a lot of us.
All of us.
And
yeah, it's terrible.
People don't want to go out as much, and so anyway, we are probably going to be knocking on the door. I know that the new president will be taking looking in and communicating with Del Mar Leucadia. So yes.
Great.
I'd like to make a comment. Several years ago, the state board did a survey of which branches had Facebook, Instagram, Nextdoor. There's something called Patch. I don't know.
Blue Sky.
Blue Sky. Blue Sky is something you post on.
It's real
really
new,
more
yeah.
so than it's almost like a text chain. But many branches do not have any of these social media accounts, and that's something that if you're not getting the information out in your local newspaper, and you're not getting it out with flyers at the local library, there's a lot of things that could be done that branches are not necessarily doing. Several years ago, one branch that was incredibly successful in getting a whole bunch of new members and a different demographic than we're traditionally seeing, they put up flyers at Starbucks with a little pull-off. Here's a phone number to call about AAUW, just like if you were looking for a gardener and they had a flyer at Starbucks. And it was the membership person's phone number, and she was willing to answer the phone and talk to people. They got like 25 new members. The other thing that I know Patricia Souza's branch does, they have a coffee thing and they also have a wine thing for new members that they meet regularly. You know, if you don't engage your new members in anything you're doing that doesn't have a fun component to it, why are they going to stay? I spoke to a branch leader last week and I said, do you have any members who are relatively new in your branch engaging in interviewing for your local scholarships or for Tech Track? Those are things that really get people's hearts involved and engaged.
Yes.
And she said, no, our scholarship committee is the same old, same old. Well, that's wrong. You've got to get new people to maybe come and volunteer at Tech Trek for the day if you're near a camp. And to do those kinds of things when they can then go, oh my goodness, this is so wonderful. And so that's where branches that I see that are floundering, that I've worked with and Donna has worked with for years, are not doing well because they're not thinking outside the box.
Somebody in the chat asked, oh, Fee, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say Fee did a wonderful job of recruiting somebody through their social media.
Yeah,
Fee.
tell us about your trip to the shows.
Speaking of thinking outside the box, okay, so I represent the Fremont branch and we're in NorCal, very close to Silicon Valley. And in our downtown, there's a really vibrant, apartment building, retail complex, okay? And they allow us to use their community room for free. So last year I went into, handed my leasing agreement to rent it for our holiday party, right? And then so the leasing agent say, hey, Fee, you want to participate in this vendor fair we're having? I'm like, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'll let you know. And then she followed up with an email and I'm like, dang, I have to keep up with this relationship. Yeah, I guess I can. I'll stay for an hour because I'm really busy that afternoon. So the day of the vendor fair, and I don't know what that was. I walk in. So I see tables with Xfinity, AT&T, beauty salon, and the city of Fremont giving out free recycle bags. I'm like, oh my gosh, here I am with my AW tablecloth, my branch brochures. I'm like,
and
okay,
nothing.
I'm just going to stay maybe for half an hour, get a coupon from the beauty salon and just get out of here, right? And then so I was there standing there with a really big smile and these two young women came in. They apparently live upstairs in the apartment building. And they said, what is AEW? We just saw the play Subs in San Francisco. Are you guys doing like something with women? Or is it like gender equity? I'm like, hey, yeah, we are. And so these two girls, stopped by and they talked to me for a little bit. I did my elevator speech and they went away. They said, okay, thank you. They came back 15 minutes later. Oh, you know what? We checked out your Facebook, we checked out your Instagram, and we checked out your website. So yeah, can we join? And I'm like, what? Really? Oh yeah, of course. And then so they signed up right there online on Community Hub. And so they became a part of my social media team. One of them is helping with our expansion on LinkedIn. She's reaching out to all of our members to connect with them. And the other one would like to help with our web design, which is great. But the funniest thing about the story is that I stayed the whole entire 2 hours while other residents came down to talk to AT&T about their cell phone plans, about their cable plan. They're troubleshooting, just really strange things while I'm still standing there with a smile. When we were packing up, the Xfinity agent came over, gave me his business card and said, Fee, I really like your work. I go around the entire Tri-City, which is Fremont, Unicity, Newark. And what I do is I host community fairs. So I go to different apartment buildings, different communities to talk about Xfinity. Do you want to partner with me? I think you and I make a good partner. I'm like, what? Okay.
Wow.
But
Wow.
it's like, AEW and Xfinity, but it's just so outside of the box thinking.
Yeah.
And I'm actually
Yeah.
seriously thinking about it because I think residents of these different neighborhood complexes, I think they're looking for volunteer opportunities. I think they're
They
looking for
are.
something that they want to do to contribute to gender equity. So it was a
Mhm.
very surprising turn of events. I did it because I didn't want to offend the leasing agent that we work with very closely to get free rental space, right? And who knew that we came away with two fantastic 25-year-olds who are very, very proficient in the language check.
Outstanding.
And
Yeah.
an Xfinity guy wants to, me to tag along with him. So yeah, outside the box story.
Really
Thank you.
amazing.
That's great. Carol, you had your little hand up. Oh, you're gone. Tina. Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say something about recruiting people. We've had a hard time with getting our word out too. The newspapers require payment. So we've tried to think about who else has great membership lists. And we decided our local bookstores, independent bookstores, have an incredible list.
Oh, good
So
idea.
for Women's History Month, we partner with them. Will you co-sponsor an event with us for women authors? You pick out the books. We'll be there and help you. But they typically choose 3 women authors, and all of it goes out through their membership list. We do too, but I don't know how big their membership list is. But they typically get 50 to 60 people come. And we have had great actions from people coming, joining our group. We've gone past school principals. I mean, we're getting the younger, kind of about to retire women that know they need to join a book club. And, you draw them in through some of things like this. But we've had to think out of the box in terms of how to use other people's mail lists.
Exactly. My branch, by pure serendipity, was approached by a non-member who liked our mission and wanted to help recruit members and also to get donations. And so in 1 week, we had a tent in the park that's next to the grade school, middle school, high school. And as people were walking their kids to school and walking their dogs, there was AEW, and we're giving away donuts and coffee. People wanted to know about us. We got lots of names to sign up and take brochures. Then 2 days later, the same person put together Pilates with a Purpose at a local Pilates salon. So people could sign up, come to a 30-minute free Pilates session, get new business for the Pilates salon, and the payment was a donation to AAUW. The work that this person who
These
wasn't
are
even a member,
amazing.
this person wasn't even a member. She happened to be a Pilates instructor of another member. She did almost all the work. We had members show up to represent AUW at 3 events. We got 12 new members out of it and $750 donated to our foundation. So exactly, think out the side of the box. Look for opportunities where young people are at. Meet them where
This is
they're
a vibrant group of women on this particular. Yes, this is a good Zoom.
Yeah. So think about that and think about ways, who do you know? And it might not be your friend, but it might be your friend's daughter, neighbor, school board. We got to pitch to the PTA at the local high school through this same person. 5 minutes, here's AUW. You just don't know where you're going to find these people. So start roaming the streets. Carol.
I forgot one thing. Next weekend, Chico will be appearing. We have secured a table at the big farmers market on Saturday when heaps and heaps of people come. And and it's the population that we should get our members from. And we not only have branch members there talking, handing out flyers, etc. We have our former tech trekkers, and they're appealing.
Nice.
Farmers
You got
markets.
them.
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. So think of those kinds of things. I know Becky's branch, they do the farmers market all the time and get people to wander by, and it works. It just totally works.
I sort of forgot this, but I had to reduce some CDs at the bank yesterday. And I've moved about a year ago, so I'm getting used to a new branch. And I went in and they said, "Did you have an appointment?" No. And they looked me up and I'm a whatever. So they gave me this guy to help me. And I was also had checks to deposit for the AAUW account. And he said, "What is this?" So I'm explaining it to him. And I said, like, what's one of the things you're worried about right now? I said, the SAVE Act to do with voting that Congress is looking at. And I said, that's a real problem and it really targets women. And he said, "Well, why? You just have to have an ID." And I said, "And it has to match your birth certificate. And if it doesn't, you have to show why." And I said, "So if you get married and you change your name and you've got to have all this documentation." And he went, "That's not good." And so he's
Also not
talking.
true.
It's not true.
Huh? Yeah, it's not good. So I said,
That's bullshit.
"Gee, I hadn't thought about it before now, but
That's bullshit.
doesn't sound like you were born here. Do you have a birth certificate that's valid that would match your
You could
ID?
use here.
Or is this
Uh-huh.
another thing where maybe we're also attacking our immigrant population?"
Yeah, the legal people who are citizens or green card holders and have no way to defend themselves. So,
And he went, I was born in Armenia. I don't know if I have what the US considers a legal copy of my birth certificate. He said, "I just assumed I could show up with my real ID." And I said, it's not, the law's not done going through there, but I know that we're very concerned about, and also I think there's a thing that it has to match the sex on your birth certificate.
yeah, well, that's the other thing. They've invalidated passports that were allowed to have non-gendered specific, but
Yeah.
the
So
whole point
but the
is
thing
look
that was
outside
funny
the
was
box.
then the branch manager came out and said, "Are you the woman?"
Did you get to put your brochures on their
She's in San
counter?
Francisco. That's why.
I don't know, but I was cracked. I'm in Sacramento, and I just thought that was a crack up. And he is also, he's not from Armenia, but he's from a different foreign country.
Yeah.
So it was just hysterical. It was like all of a sudden, everybody's, well, what? We'll see if I get members.
Yeah.
And remember,
Exactly.
men can join.
Yes,
You all
I
know who
said,
the first man who joined was? George H.W. Bush, because Barbara Bush was a member.
yep.
Yeah.
So there.
Yep. And then he
And all the
spoke at our,
girls were. Yeah.
he spoke at our 89 convention. And when he spoke, he said, "I'm the first AAUW member to be president of the United States."
Wow.
Hoped he wouldn't be the last.
Exactly. Okay. Do we have any other stories to share? Otherwise, it's 8:17 and you all need to get off to your life. Carol, what's up?
Very briefly, at one point, virtually every member of the Morgan Hill City Council was an AUW member, men and women. Not
Wow.
never the case, but it was at one time, and it was pretty cool.
That's something we should put in the B2B or the California Compass or something like that. Yeah.
We were told that we should send our newsletters to every elected official in our service area.
Yes, yes.
And
if
every
any of you,
person in the administration of the schools where you give scholarships.
yes, absolutely. So they know who we are, we're not just a checkbook.
Correct.
And we are an impact in the community and we need to be recognized. Okay, couple of other future announcements. I hope you will attend the annual event in April on Zoom. And next year, you'll be able to attend the annual event in person. Because Sharon and I are going to put together an in-person AUW California convention. We're bringing that back. So we'll hope to see all of you there. Plan for this in your branches because you got a budget for who's going to go and how you're going to pay for it. But it'll be somewhere in California, easy to get to. And we would hope to see all of you at that event. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
Because we don't get bonuses except for your smiles.
Yeah. They're like cookies or something. I don't know. Okay. Thank you everyone for staying tonight. We'll see you in May, and please participate in the annual event in April and put together some watch parties in your branch because it's a good idea to get together, sit around, have lunch, make fun of us while we're on the air. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.